Foresight Wrestling Podcast on the one and only 411 Podcast Network.
This is Justin Watry, and yes, you are listening to the 411 Foresight Wrestling Podcast on the 411 Podcasting Network. As your usual, plug, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. Give us those 5 stars. Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Apple, all that good stuff. I am joined once again by Steve Madsen. Hello, sir.
Hey, here we are, back again.
We are back again, and let's be honest, today we're going to be kind of free-balling it, so if you want to just kind of jump into a topic, what are you thinking?
Right,
What's on your mind?
This escalated quickly.
It escalated real quickly.
Wow. All right, well, let's go with the big story. Let's talk Sasha Banks. All rumors point to the fact that she is not coming back. She's taking a vacation, and now it's kind of interesting because from what I read is that WWE is happy to let her sit out the rest of her contract. They could also freeze it and hold it. I mean, they had Neville sit for a year before he was able to do anything.
Right.
So here we are with Sasha. She's just not feeling it, apparently.
She's not feeling it, and while I'm not going to give her too much credit for walking out like she is, because let's remember, Bayley's still there.
Right, and that was kind of, that's kind of mean, right? Okay, screw you, I'm out.
Right. I mean, I don't know about that. I'm sure they're cool, and she supports her friend and all that, but a lot of this to me seems like 2002 with Stone Cold. People remember he walked out in June 2002 and didn't return until 9 months later to basically have his farewell match against The Rock. But what kind of people forget is that he didn't just walk out in June 2002. He actually walked out in March 2002, the night after WrestleMania 18, but it was not very much reported and just quote-unquote a vacation, and he was back 2 weeks later, kind of just with a clear head. So I wonder if Sasha almost, this is a little precursor to more. So even if she comes back in a month, is this issue really going to go away?
Yeah, exactly. Tony Atlas was quoted as saying that she's, if she does come back, they are going to just put her down at the bottom of the heap. She's going to lose every match.
Right.
Yeah, man.
I think, Tony Atlas has a great laugh.
Tony Atlas, take it for what you will. I mean, take any, and these, again, I just want to go on record. These are rumors. These are just stuff that I've read.
Right.
It could all be an entire work. I'm still holding out hope that Dean Ambrose is a work.
It's not.
Even though we all know it's not, I'm still hoping that CM Punk is working this.
Right. It's funny because, Dean Ambrose is, leaving or gone or whatever his deal is right now.
Apparently it's expired according to the reports.
But again, I mean, you can turn fiction to fact, and then all of a sudden he comes back in a week and they can start playing it up a little bit.
Everybody loves money.
So it's about that. You can blur the lines. And even CM Punk, he walked out in January 2014. Paul Heyman, I think, said it was almost every week in 2013 he was ready to walk out.
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing that in his documentary. He was just ready to go. And
he barely even re-signed in 2011. So that's where I think the Sasha thing, I don't think, this was a mania like, hey, you're losing the titles. I don't think it was a split decision. I think she just, had kind of had it on her mind almost of a year and a half ago I was main eventing Raw and I was with Charlotte and we were main eventing Inside the Cell and all this stuff, and I've done nothing, and this feud with Bayley kind of went nowhere.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, now now we're gonna get the tag title, so that's cool. We're back on track, and
stop, start.
And it's like, oh, by the way, you're losing to the Iconics, and now you're being split up.
Yeah, and what is it with every time her first title defense, bam, she can't defend a title. Well, she can win a title, can't defend it.
She defeated Nia Jackson Tamina, I believe, at Fastlane. So she does have a title defense, but
has one.
I understand your point, and that just kind of goes back to what we started with. Is if anything, Bayley or even I think Asuka has a case. If Asuka wanted to walk out after getting screwed by a week before Mania,
right.
So she has a case to be like, excuse me, I'm Asuka, like this is garbage.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then be placed in the Battle Royal.
Yeah, and then, I want to I'll touch on Asuka a little bit.
She was professional and
absolutely. And now that also brings up the question, because the main vocal force behind the women's tag titles was Sasha and Bayley for the longest time. They had been saying, we want to get a women's tag division going, and they had to expand the roster. It took time to get that many women, and for Vince to be like, hey, these people can actually put on matches. So now I wonder, with the Iconics losing on TV like twice now.
Every week?
Every week. Did they bring up the tag titles just to shut them up? I mean, they got money to throw around. It's not that expensive to get a couple of tag belts in the grand scheme of things when you look at WWE's revenue and what they can spend. So
that's interesting, too, almost like the Cruiserweight Classic.
Cruiserweight title. And let's go back to like the lightweight title when the WCW merger. They're trying to get everybody a spot on the roster. The problem is that, there's not a lot of space.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily to shut them up. I think they just realize, hey, we have freaking a million women on our roster. We got to put them all somewhere.
I just wish that I kind of wish they would have done something a little more with, I agree that they should have made those a little stronger, had somebody hold it for a while so that it has a legacy. So that we all think, when you think of the WWE title and you think, what's the legacy? One of the first things that comes to mind is Bruno Sammartino, and he held that thing for 7 years, and he defended it like crazy. That guy was a mad workhorse.
Yeah, and that's why I like the idea so much of Bayley and Sasha going to all the brands. And you'll notice since the Iconics won, they haven't mentioned that idea even once.
Not once.
So it's like, that was such a great idea, and it was a nice way to cement the credibility. I keep using the word credibility in my columns for the women's tag titles because, now Iconics are losing every week. It's basically telling the audience these women tag titles aren't making taken seriously. But if Sasha and Bayley were on SmackDown and Raw and NXT UK and NXT and then all the pay-per-views putting on classics each week, each month, fans would be like, oh man, what's the women's tag title match going to be this time? It's going to be awesome.
And it's just going to get better and better and better. I mean, look at NXT. I never think that they can top themselves, and every single time they do better and better. I don't know how they do it. They're just brilliant, every single one of them.
That's because it's NXT, and it's amazing.
And it's amazing.
And that's why it would have been even better if, Sasha and Bayley were there. So, kind of wrap this up a little bit. I think Sasha will be back. Maybe it's just me. Maybe not. I could be totally wrong on this.
You'd like to think so. I just wish that they would have, done a little more. They could have done it better. I think they could have handled it a lot
I'm more
better.
on the side of Bayley, where she's still there every week being professional about it. You can voice your opinion. You can say you're upset. You don't agree with it. But, to go, or the quote-unquote vacation or all that stuff. So I hope she comes back. I hope she kind of realizes it. And, I don't know if you have on your little notes there Luke Harper, but it's like...
Yep, that was my next one. Yep.
It's like, I wrote it on Twitter, but, he signed his contract. He read all the little clauses. He knew well aware if you're injured or if you request, you got to sit out your contract. So now it's like her, or him, or Sasha, now they're like, just expecting to go and do whatever they want, and WWE, who's going to be the evil corporation to be cast as the bad guys in this.
Of course, because that's the easiest target.
It's the easy target. They're the billionaires, all this, so let's rip on them. But it's like, no. Luke signed his contract. He knew the deal. He knew what he could and couldn't do. So
sorry, we're just throwing things around here now.
Throwing things. It's kind of like WWE writing, throwing stuff at the wall.
Exactly. Hey, let's see if this sticks.
Yeah, Bray Wyatt. So anyways, so he's
Ooh.
So now Harper, who I'm a fan of, by the way.
Oh, I love Harper. I think that guy puts on quality matches every time, and I thought his character was great if they would have got behind it. That whole dirty whatever. I don't know. He was compelling. I really enjoyed watching his matches. You always knew he was a threat. It was a little weird seeing the Intercontinental title on him, just because. I don't know. I wish they would bring back the black strap. I think the white just kind of cheeses.
Yeah, wasn't that
out.
a Cody Rhodes idea?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Harper had a hot streak going before Mania 2 years ago, and everyone was saying, well, add him to the Randy Orton-Bray Wyatt title match at WrestleMania. Just make it Wyatt family explodes. But, I wasn't for that idea at the time, and, honestly, right now I still don't really necessarily agree with that. The story was, Orton undermining the family, winning the Rumble, and taking the title.
That was
but now
weirdest match of any Mania.
Yeah, that one live was very weird. I appreciate them experimenting with stuff.
How was that live?
It was weird.
The
whole thing was weird.
Did the stuff show up on the ring, or were you just supposed to see that in the Titantron?
Well, yeah, I was so far up, so
right.
People were wondering what the heck was going on a lot of the times. And I think we mentioned this a week or two ago, but, a different title match, the women's one. We had that big light in our face.
Right.
But again, I was sitting in the freaking nosebleeds, and I was just going to go just to experience it all.
Bucket list, of course.
Bucket list. So it was weird, and I don't know, maybe Harper, they could have kind of ran with the ball a little bit, not necessarily for the title match, but even after Orton won the title, instead of, say, a Jinder Mahal, why not Luke Harper in that spot?
Why not? Indeed. What was so compelling about Jinder Mahal at that moment?
Well, Jinder Mahal is now back on SmackDown, let's not forget.
And losing every time.
And getting run away by Lars. But, to kind of go back to Harper a little bit, I'm a fan of him. I followed him actually before he signed with WWE, which may shock a lot of people. He was one of the few independent talents I did follow. So that was cool for me personally to see him signed. And now it's just like, I don't know, he's 39?
Yeah,
he's
39,
had, I think it's knee issues or something.
His wrist was the last thing that kept him out.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, is that he could have worked through it, but because they weren't going to use him while Rowan was out with an injury, he decided, hey, I'll just go and get this taken care of, comes back and is like, okay, well, we got nothing for you.
Right. And I mean, again, he is 39, and I think he had an injury even before that.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, WWE will be the bad guys here, but what do you do with them? What can you do? 39, the roster's, pretty stacked right now. NXT, I mean, there's everywhere you could go. And, he signed the deal. So if part of that deal is you now have to sit out until November, or if they're gonna, add on the injury time,
right.
that's part of the deal.
Keep in shape, and when your deal is done, go do it elsewhere. I mean, if you're that good, you'll make a name for yourself. What I like, I kind of like what Sasha Banks said when she was first up to the main roster. Or not, be so good that they can't ignore you.
Right,
that's what you got to
do. I've always been told that at jobs too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do it so they can't replace you.
Yep,
show up on time, do everything
every day.
You can. Yeah, exactly. So they can't ever come to you and be like, yeah, we're gonna hire some bum and replace you. It's like, no.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Don't. Exactly. So what next do you have on your list here to talk about? Good topic start.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. All right. So I'm new to this podcast, and all your fans and whatnot, or people critics, whatever you want to call them, that read you.
They're big fans.
That for years and years and years, The Miz and I hate the character. I like the performer, but I've never been behind The Miz as a face. When he turned face way back and Ric Flair gave him the figure 4, I was like, this is a joke. This is horrible.
That didn't go well.
And it didn't go well at all. Well, I don't know, should I report this or just be happy about it? I don't know. Seeing him as a face on Raw last week, I get it. I can see it. I'm behind him. Go Miz.
Go Miz.
I'm Team Miz. I hope he does extremely well. Yeah.
Number one cheerleader.
No, yeah, go for it, man. You finally made me a believer. I can now picture you as a face. I can picture you as a heel. Whatever it is, just do what you do.
Wave those pom-poms. I think you're just happy that his feud with Shane McMahon seems to be over.
Oh, thank God. That bugs me. I've never looked at Shane as a viable competitor. Yeah, he's the boss's son and all that, but he was always first he was in official capacity. He was a ref.
Right.
I remember seeing him as a ref, and then he was a backstage guy that would come out when they had a brawl or whatever it was.
I think he commentated for a while.
And all that, and did it. Did a couple of things when they had the union or whatever it was. Corporate ministry, all that stuff. Okay, I could see him being kind of a whipping boy, taking a beating here and there. Yep. He mockingly won the European Championship. Ha ha ha! Look at boss's son.
I think it was when Vince became a character. They probably figured, well, let's get the family involved.
And I get that for storyline purposes. Nowadays, I still don't see him. I don't see the point of giving him a Mania spot. Number one, he throws punches like an idiot. I mean,
those punches
they just
are brutal.
Look like garbage. I don't like his wrestling. He's good for jumping off stuff. Every time you see a match, it's like, okay, what's Shane going to jump off of today?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of done with Shane as a competitor.
Kind of done with the whole thing?
Yeah, I've been done with it. When he came back, okay, I get it. It was nice of him to come back when everybody was injured.
That was awesome.
Good for you. Thanks for pulling one out for the family. Okay, now do something else.
That was moment of the year for the record. That was just the greatest opening of all time when he came out and got a 5-minute standing ovation.
I mean,
And then
it was cool.
against the Undertaker, and that announcement was like, "Wait, what?
Wait, what?"
He's facing the Undertaker inside the cell.
Yeah, I mean, and we all knew how that was gonna go.
Right,
but
and then he ended up getting Raw or SmackDown anyways, which was the stipulation.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they had a big thing, and then he ended up getting his own show, and it was like, so now he's just there, and Vince is like, we're not going to have any more imposing authority figures. And then here's Shane McMahon.
Yeah, wasn't that your favorite WrestleMania, 32 in Texas? Well, back to The Miz. I still have my issues about him going to Raw because underneath all of that stuff you said about him being a good guy and stuff, underneath all of it was, he lost. He's now on Raw again, and I fear he's just right back to losing.
But does his character get stronger? That's the thing. We have to remember that this is entertainment, and sometimes our heroes have to lose for the story. Now, do we want him? Now, is his next win going to be that much more?
Right, and the hero can lose all they want, but the hero does have to win. And I'm going through the list of guys in my head right now, and I'm not sure where that win's going to come from against somebody big. And I want to say he should have got that win over Shane if the feud was going to end.
Absolutely, I think he should have.
Did Shane win so he could feud with Roman Reigns? Was the feud?
What's the point?
Was it? Well, we got to think of Shane for Roman instead of Miz for Raw.
Yeah, idiot.
Which goes back to your point of they took precedent Shane, whoever 50, 59, I don't even know how old he is, over the Miz.
Yeah, and for what? I mean, there's nowhere to go, because again, Shane's not going to tell a compelling story against Roman Reigns. I mean, as an authority figure, as they battle, okay, but here's my guy to beat you up because here's Elias, beat him up, Elias, and do all these underhanded techniques. I get that. Elias is a viable, credible performer. Shane, not so much. Keep him in the backstage. So why have him go over the Miz? At Mania.
And I defend Shane, and I'm actually a fan of the stunt show, as I call it. I'm a fan of Shane, and it's going to be a street fight almost every time.
Yeah.
And I say this stat all the time, but, he hadn't won a pay-per-view singles match since 2003, and that's because he had always lost. So maybe I'm just kind of shocked that, wow, he actually went over a current star. So it's like, well, that's different, and now we're seeing it, and now you wonder, well, that's why he's been losing for 16 years, because it just doesn't make sense
to give him one. Exactly.
It doesn't make
any sense.
And the Miz going over, or any star you could think of, at least you could always say, well, at least Shane lost, AJ Styles or whoever you want to name. Well, it's like, well, at least they beat the guy, because Shane should lose. He's 50 years old,
and he's the boss's son. He's not an actual trained competitor.
So now that he has one over someone like the Miz, I think it's just kind of like, oh, okay, now what?
Now what? Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah, well, let's see how they handle Miz, I guess. Maybe they'll tell us something.
I'm trying to be optimistic about it, but now I've written 2 columns about it in the past week that not good early.
Nobody's listening.
Nobody's listening. They never do.
No, because they're not paid to.
Oh, boy.
Hey, we don't pay them, so why would they listen to us?
Exactly.
Yep. So how much stock do they have in Charlotte?
They have a lot.
Wow, they will bend to her will they not?
And not to get ahead of ourselves, but she will be the next SmackDown Women's Champion for the record.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah. Becky's
right off the bat?
Let's just do it. Becky's going to defeat Lacey.
Okay.
And then she's going to go to Raw, and then SmackDown will have the women's title with Charlotte.
Yeah. I mean, and
then we're back to
splitting the titles again.
Back to where it should be, because if they're not going to merge the titles, it's only a matter of time until she loses one and then goes to the other
because
show.
How long can she pull double duty? I would kind of hope that they'd give her one.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I want to say she'll retain one more time, only because she has the new Becky 2 belts merchandise.
Right. Yeah, that's got to sell for a little bit.
It's got to sell for a little bit.
And it's a good gimmick. I mean, and the fact that Vince allows the word belts back on TV.
Yeah, I never really got into that stuff or those little rules or whatever, but it is funny that Becky 2 belts, I think it's kind of funny. It sounds like a mob name. Like, talk to Becky 2 belts.
Yeah, go talk to Becky 2 belts over there.
But whether it's this next upcoming pay-per-view or not, isn't it going to be Becky on Raw and then Charlotte with the SmackDown title?
Charlotte's the chosen one. The only problem I have with that is I'm kind of getting tired of Charlotte always being.
She's good though.
She's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But
it's not like she sucks, and it's Jinder as champion where it's like, oh, that just makes no sense.
All right, but you know what? I'm a huge Deftones fan, and when the first song of the new album comes out, I'm going to listen to it over and over again. But then I have to take a break,
right?
Because then I stop enjoying it, or sometimes I'll just hang back until the record comes out so that I can. It's the same thing with Charlotte. She is absolutely fantastic, but if she's in your face all the time, it's like, all right, there's got to be somebody else.
Yeah, I always say the phrase that too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing. We all love ice cream, but if we ate it every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, guess what? After a week, you're going to hate ice cream.
Yeah, absolutely. I ate ramen noodles for 6 months when I lived in another spot because I just couldn't afford anything else. And
ramen noodles are awesome.
To this day, I kind of gag at the thought of eating
really?
ramen. Oh, yeah.
What about is it chicken noodle? What's the orange wrapper one?
Chicken, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Roasted chicken.
Those are good.
Believe me, I tried not too long ago, and I was just like,
those are the only kind I eat.
I ate it for 6 months straight
Yeah.
because that's all I could afford, because 40 cents got you a box, man.
Yes. Yeah, they do. I always look for those. It's like, where's my box of ramen noodles?
Right. And you know what? I will still keep a package in the cupboard just in case, because you never know what could happen.
You never know. You're going to fall in love with them again.
Yeah, well.
And I think, back to the point, I mean, do you think Lacey Evans, is there any chance she wins?
Not yet. I can't. If she does win, it's going to be like...
It's weird because I'm just thinking of the match order at Money in the Bank. Is it like Seth Rollins at Night of Champions 2015?
Had to go back to back.
Where it's, screwed out of the title and then you win that one. So I'm thinking Lacey will cost her the women's title match, and then Becky will have a vengeance to come back later in the night and then beat Lacey. Or is it she faces Lacey, beats her, and then as Lacey's revenge costs her the women's title to Charlotte later on? Does that make sense?
That makes more sense.
And then
I think
they can continue that.
That's the more predictable storyline because, like we said, Charlotte's the chosen one. So if anybody needs to be given the ball and running with it, it's going to be Charlotte.
And then Charlotte could maybe feud with Bayley.
There
Ember
you go.
Moon. Mickie James.
There's plenty of
Liv Morgan. Plenty of faces.
There's plenty of faces, and then that solidifies Becky as a Raw roster superstar because she'll have the title for that.
Yeah, I would assume she's going to Raw,
and then she can just go wild on Lacey Evans.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the whole thing that they didn't merge the titles.
Right,
so
right.
Is it this month, next month, whenever?
I would like to see her retain once, both belts once, and then maybe the revenge thing kicks in, and Charlotte probably takes the SmackDown and runs wild.
Yeah, I mean, and also, the double duty thing. I'm sure at some point Becky's going to be like, can I have a weekend off? Or
Yeah, she's going to be working a lot.
Going from show to show, 2 a day and all
Why
this
don't you just
stuff.
throw down some NXT while you're at it?
Exactly. So I'm not against the idea of Charlotte. She seems to have a lot of opponents, that she could line up and beat for a while. And if it builds to SummerSlam, say an Ember Moon, and gets the big win or something, it works for me. But I could also see if Bayley has a little bit more of an attitude, maybe they're saving her for Becky. Because notice they didn't do Becky versus Bayley. They did Bayley versus Charlotte. So maybe they're saving Bayley for the title.
That could be. Who
With
knows?
Sasha returning.
Well, there's that too.
The horsewomen. The horsewomen.
I like the original idea from Mania of where the 4 horsewomen would have been standing in the ring as the show closed, all holding their belts up.
Yeah, and then they made
That
it.
would've been cool.
Then they made it winner take all.
Right.
But if it was just Raw, yeah, Charlotte could have had SmackDown, then tag titles, and then
that would have been a cool moment.
I thought it would have been cool. I thought it would have been awesome, but then they added in the winner take all that.
Well, what can you do? So now, with the crown on Charlotte, so Andrade was supposed to be Raw, and then all of a sudden, bam, he's on SmackDown. Well, Vega's got to come with him, and then bam, Aleister Black's on SmackDown. With the snap of her fingers, 3 superstars shift over from whence they came.
I don't know what happened there, but I guess
they just really, I think Charlotte snapped her fingers, and they were like, okay. I mean, because Aleister isn't super credible yet.
And they got Jinder and the B team.
They got Jinder and the B team.
And don't forget, Raw got in return Cesaro. So I guess he's worth all of them. He's worth 5 people.
There was a couple. That brings me up to a point here that I got with Cesaro. If he's a singles wrestler now, definitely deserves a spotlight of some type.
Yeah, quick on the other SmackDown moves. I don't care for the B team, so honestly, I could really care less. Jinder Mahal, yeah, same thing. He had his chance, blew it horribly. Didn't really matter.
They just don't have they're just charisma black holes. It's just like you see them on TV and it just suck.
Yeah, it just didn't work. If they want to like build them up for a year on the US or Intercontinental level, and then go to it, fine. But people forget before he became #1 contender to Randy Orton. Not even kidding. The week before he lost to Mojo Rawley. It's like you can't do that. If you wanted to build him up for a few months and then have him beat Orton, fine. Fans would have been like, okay, Jinder's kind of on the rise a little, and they believe in him. But you can't lose to a Mojo and then become the #1 contender.
Because, he's got to have that conversation with the man in the mirror.
Oh, boy.
He's asking him to change his ways.
The man in the mirror. But I'm actually glad. I'm not glad about the little switcheroo back. My thing is Andrade and Selena going right back to SmackDown. It just kind of tells me that, they never actually had a plan for him on Raw.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it tells me. And the same with Aleister Black. We've talked about it before. As much as we love the tag team with the Ricochet, we both did kind of want to see him on his own.
Right, and it's going to be, I think he's got a chance to flourish now because he's on a completely different brand as Ricochet. He'll be able to set himself aside as not just, hey, tag team partners with the one and only.
Yeah, which kind of sucks because Ricochet then lost to
that
Robert Roode.
Which, hey,
Mr. Mustache.
Good for him. I mean, I don't see the point. And that's weird. I heard that was a late change, actually, going back to quote-unquote dirt sheets. I guess, according to rumors, Raw was in chaos. Like, they were rewriting the show.
Isn't it always?
Yeah, but I guess, like, it's been getting pretty nuts lately. Like, where minutes before the show starts, they got new script changes.
Well, isn't it 2 or 3 writers now have left recently?
Yeah,
or something?
I saw Dean Malenko quit. And
Dean Malenko?
Yeah, and Road Dogg, Brian James, he's stepped down. He's not... he stepped down from a writing creative position.
And I know a bunch of like Shane Helm, Sanjay Dutt, Abyss. They were hired. Is it just kind of the turnover before Vince kind of does his XFL thing? Maybe
I don't know what it is, but I mean they're doing. I mean the fact of losing Malenko, that's
Malenko. Arn Anderson left a while ago.
I mean, if
which
that
I
story
could justify.
If that story is true, then yeah.
By the
absolutely.
way, Alicia Fox was on Raw.
Right?
She did great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll get to that one later.
Oh, really? All right.
Well, I think so. I mean, I don't know.
Well, long story short, I'm kind of with you on giving Cesaro a chance.
Right, exactly. And back to Black, I think he's got a chance to open up and flourish. But then, Cesaro, they're breaking up the bar. I guess Sheamus is injured.
Yeah, they don't want to.
Right?
It's the Daniel Bryan thing. You don't want to mention the C word, concussion. Whoops, sorry. But anyways,
there he goes. But definitely, there was a couple of years ago where maybe just before the bar and before his best of 7 with Sheamus, there was a point where he was putting on just some awesome matches.
Cesaro?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a Paul Heyman guy.
It was a little bit after that.
He won
had
the
come
Andre.
back from won the Andre. He'd come back. He was starting to wear that shoulder tape.
Oh,
and
right.
like just some of those matches were just fantastic. I actually tweeted him. I don't think he ever saw it or responded, but I was like, dude, you sold me with your in-ring skills because, I mean, that stuff was just those matches were really good. He was really putting forth the effort. And then they matched him up with Sheamus 7 times. And then they put
Probably
on...
more.
They put on great matches, but, I mean,
Yeah.
after, like we're saying, too much of a good thing. And then the Bar, fantastic tag team, and then he gets his teeth broken, and
That's how it goes. I'm kind of wondering more about Sheamus. Is he going to come to Raw with Cesaro, or is this officially them kind of breaking off?
I guess that's one thing that nobody's really brought up yet. It'll be interesting to see. I think he could flourish in either setting. You give him some singles, he's gonna wow you every time. Dude is straight up strong. Like, I don't know how he does half that stuff.
Yeah, people say I think it's Mark Henry, Braun Strowman, and then Cesaro of actually the strongest people on the roster.
Yeah.
Which is, kind of surprising but kind of not. And, Sheamus, he's a former Royal Rumble winner. He's a former King of the Ring. He's a former WWE champion. And Cesaro is none of those.
Right, yeah.
So
it's time for Cesaro to take his place.
I mean, I don't want to... Is he in his late 30s? I think he's late 30s. He was kind of signed, not old, but, in his 30s, I think. At least, maybe I'm just kind of rambling. But I think Cesaro on his own would be fine. But also, Raw seemed to have gotten the tag teams, so maybe Sheamus, when he's healthy, will go over, which would explain the Andrade, Selena, and Aleister Black moves to kind of make it an even trade.
Right, and he did come out to the bar music. He didn't come out to his Cesaro.
Yeah, is that a hint?
So, maybe. Yeah, I mean, or maybe they just haven't figured out what they're gonna do yet.
Well, clearly they don't know what they're doing. If they're, hey, Jinder's back on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, and Nikki Cross is still running around backstage.
Yeah, what's she doing?
And Killian Dane, they're married, so
right. So
what's going on with that? Keeping couples together? I don't know. Do you really think it was Charlotte that snapped their fingers and said, "Make these changes"?
It just has that feeling. It
has the feeling.
I just have that feeling. Again, I'm not an expert. I don't know. I only have been watching since I was a kid. And I like to read stuff on the internet. So really, my opinion is not worth a darn. But
it is weird, though, of how, then
she gets moved over. Andrade goes to SmackDown, or to Raw, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, okay, he's gonna do good there." And then,
and then right back. But maybe to kind of defend it, but Andrade then lost. So it's not like he's back and beating Finn Balor again.
Maybe that's like, okay, he can come back, Charlotte, but he's gonna lose,
right?
And everybody seems fine with that.
It'd be like,
pay me.
Everyone's just fine with it. All right,
new job squad.
And then Charlotte wins and is gonna get the title again.
Of course, because she's got to make the money now.
So now it's back to where it should be.
Mm-hmm.
It all makes sense somehow in a weird way.
And all is right with the world.
All is right with the world. But real quick before moving on, I like the Aleister Black sit-down interview because this whole time during his Ricochet, we hadn't really got to know him. And even his entrance, like you could hear the crank of the thing.
Right.
When he rose, and it was just like,
what's with that?
So now we can actually get back kind of like NXT where there was cool videos. Like the Velveteen Dream always has them these days.
Velveteen Dream.
Yes, indeed. So I like that Aleister Black can be on his own, and I'm glad he didn't have a match or anything. It was just, now let's get to know the guy.
Yeah.
We know what he can do in the ring.
It's time to start building him up. It really is time to start getting behind his character and giving him that serious credibility that, dare I say, The Undertaker once had.
The Undertaker. I think as much as apparently it was Fox, I think I saw that wanted Andrade and Selena for the...
Oh, I saw that, yeah, because they're really focusing on more of a sports presentation.
I know their Latino channel is big, so I guess that kind of makes sense. But then I go back to what I said last week. Why move Rey Mysterio?
Yeah, exactly.
Fox was probably like...
maybe they're more focusing long-term because Rey Mysterio is kind of getting to the end of his career. He is doing, I heard this last run with WWE is kind of like his swan song. He's done AAA. He's done Lucha Libre.
I would assume this is kind of it for him. But I was just going to quick say, Fox is looking for anyone kind of new to spotlight. It's Aleister Black. Absolutely.
He's got a spotlight. And think about they were awesome in NXT. Think about some of the great matches Black and Andrade can have. Especially, if their significance kind of get on board and start just having this whole planning session.
Yeah, now I'm just picturing a mixed tag match with couples going at it.
And just think about some of the brainchilds that come out of some of the weird spots and all. That could just be some angry.
As long as Ricochet doesn't keep losing to Rude.
Well,
who I love.
Robert.
Nothing against Mr. Rob.
Robert.
But yeah, I'd like to see both guys do well.
I definitely want to see Robert succeed. I like Bobby Roode. I thought he was awesome in NXT, and I really wish that would have carried over. He had a decent run on SmackDown. Won the U.S. title, right? Yeah.
He had I think he lost it to Randy Orton.
Yeah.
I want to say before Mania
last
year.
I think he is a better heel than he is a face.
Yes,
at this point. I really like the heel aspect where they did vignettes of him at a giant massive house.
Yeah, the Alberto Del Rio type character.
Yeah, right, but Americanized.
And
almost
fits,
a Ric Flairish with the robes.
Ric Flair, the robe that fits too, and then also, wait, how do you spell robe?
R-O-B-E.
Robert.
Oh, Robert Robe. Robert the Robe Roode.
Robert the Robe.
Robert Roode's robes. Triple R. After a while, just do Triple R.
Triple R, right.
And then he'll marry Stephanie's, and then he'll take over the company.
I think we should move on before this gets anywhere. Roberts and Rope.
I just want to throw in real quick right here. Viking Raiders, I give up. I am done with caring about their name. Let's just see them actually have some matches. I'm done with the name.
Yeah.
They're trying too hard now.
And then I saw there was a different post that they actually had a third name.
The Viking Warriors is their next idea. Which
I mean, I assume that was a typo. I can't believe they would actually do that. You know, I mean, if
but
you're already
really,
going to change...
does anything surprise you nowadays?
No, nothing ever does. It's the business that you kind of go with the flow at half the time. That's why I don't get too worked up over a lot of things.
Right.
You just kind of go with it.
Remember when we were kids and it none of this mattered? It was just Ultimate Warrior is going to come out and pound on them.
Just let me turn on the TV and, all right.
Colors, yay! And music.
Lots of colors. I think I wrote in my column on 411 Mania, cheap plug there, but to me it's never, I mean, it's not never because you can have a horrible name, but, it's not about their name. It's about what they can do in the ring.
Exactly. That's why I'm done with Karen. You call them the pink leotards for all
right,
I care.
And you mentioned, the universal title. Everyone crapped all over the red title.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Does anyone do that anymore?
Nope.
Nobody cares.
Like I said, I almost bought one that one event we went to.
Right, and then it's the same when when people lose their last name. Everyone flips out for a week, and then after a week, they're calling them what they are.
Yep,
anyways.
exactly.
So
I mean, and they've been calling them that anyways when they do play-by-play because you can't say the whole name fast enough. So might as well.
I mean, back to them. What do you think of them attacking Lucha House Party? Was that a heel turn, or is that just them kind of dominating Raw?
I mean, you attack the Lucha House Party, that almost makes you face by because really...
I will defend Lucha House Party here. I was at a live event last month, and they were, I don't like the term, but they were over.
Okay.
Everyone was doing the pointing, and yes, it was mostly kids, so save the excuse. It was mostly kids, and everyone was pointing and doing the lucha. Yeah. And then their high-flying moves obviously will excite a crowd, so... maybe they're a live event act and not a TV act. Maybe. I mean, that's kind of possible in some markets, but...
I mean, they got a piñata.
Who doesn't cheer that?
But I think it kind of does. They're more in between, maybe leaning towards the heel side more, and as they get into more serious competition, that'll, of course, become evident. But
yeah, and Usos seem to be feuding with the Revival, and then...
that's going to be awesome.
And does anyone remember the actual tag champs? Exactly my point.
Wait. Dude, why do you do this?
This dead air explains it all.
Why do you do this?
I'm glad this is happening now.
What was it?
They won at Mania.
Of course they did. Everybody won at Mania.
Title change. Revival lost. 2?
No, that was the Raw side, the Kurt Hawkins and...
Right. That's what we're talking about.
For the Raw Tag Champions.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I knew that was Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins.
Okay,
I'm trying to think of who won it on SmackDown.
Oh, the Hardys.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think both tag divisions right now are taking a back seat. So I'm glad that, the Usos and Revival...
I'm horribly embarrassed right now.
No, that's all right. I'm always embarrassed. I think Usos will probably beat the Revival. And then Usos will be like, well, we want a tag title match. And then Viking whatever experience are going to want, they're obviously going to want a title match right away.
Viking Warrior Raider experience.
Now that's a fun ride.
How many sports teams can we fit into one tag team?
Right. And then every city you're in, that's the beginning of it. Right. So then I think Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder may not be the tag champs for very long.
No, definitely not. Not with a brand, not with the Vikings.
No.
Whatever.
And exactly also with the Hardys, if Jeff Hardy's hurt.
Oh, yeah, yep. I read that he's legit injured.
And then I know he's only had a few surgeries in his whole career, which is kind of hard to believe because, it's Jeff Hardy.
Right.
And if this one's, serious enough for him to take surgery, it's bad.
Right. And then who's viable contenders on SmackDown right now? They really haven't highlighted too many tag teams.
No, I mean, maybe Rusev and Shinsuke. Do they
get
back
then
to that?
they let Shinsuke have a solo match against Kofi.
Right, that is true. But wasn't Rusev ringside?
Yeah, he was ringside. Yep, that's right. He did kind of cause the schmaz.
You go to the New Day to have all the titles on them with Big E coming back.
When's that going to happen, though? It's like 5-6 weeks.
Exactly. I don't like both tag divisions right now, honestly.
I like the divisions. I just don't like the direction. I mean, there's a lot of potential. They're just not using any of it.
There's definitely people there that can do something with it.
Right.
It's almost like the women's tag team division, where if
Right.
it's just going to be Iconics losing to Naomi and random names each week, then what are we really doing?
Right, and it's going to change hands every single pay-per-view, and it's like, here we go.
Okay.
How long until they discontinue it? Women get angry and walk out or whatever.
No, I don't think they're discontinuing it.
No. So, yeah, I guess that kind of leads to, that makes me think of like when minor title holders compete for singles titles. Like we just had that tournament to see who's going to face Seth for the Universal.
Oh, right.
And they had Joe, who's the United States Championship. And this is something that's always kind of bugged me for a long time.
Yeah, or when they're in the Rumble or something.
When they're in the Rumble or the Money in the Bank ladder match or any of that kind of stuff. It's like
I think Miz won the Money in the Bank as U.S. and Tag Champ. I'm pretty sure he was carrying around a lot of gold around that time, I think.
So, and to me, I think if you hold a championship, that needs to be your sole focus. And, like, they should really kind of highlight
unless
those
it's like
matches.
Warrior Hogan where there's a purpose behind it.
Right, but still, both titles were on the line. He
Oh, that's
was
true, yeah.
defending, so like the winner took all on that one. So, those are understandable circumstances. I wish that they would stop demeaning the minor titles.
Yeah,
Like,
treat them as, titles that can main event. I think Rollins and Dolph Ziggler main evented a pay-per-view last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, and you mentioned it, but right away when you see like Samoa Joe or whoever's in a tournament, right away you can cross him off the list. Well, he's not going to win.
Yeah,
He's
right.
already got a title.
Exactly.
And it's, the same thing with a lot of things where I always say it, but process of elimination, and then you already narrow it down. It's like, well, I don't know if you have it on your list of topics, but it's like, well, then that leaves AJ Styles to win.
Yeah, right. That's what I was wondering. Is he gonna, just pull it out? And I honestly didn't. I was worried that they were gonna put Baron Corbin because, oh my God, just they seem to like him. He fits the mold.
I thought because he beat Kurt Angle, it'd be like, oh, they're gonna ride this for a month or two.
And then are they really gonna have Seth and AJ do a face versus face?
I didn't think
title
this
match
soon.
Right off? Yeah, exactly. Right off the bat, like.
So it made you think Corbin. Like
I really thought that they were going with Corbin. And I was like, are they really gonna? Maybe they'll schmaz it out and tell a further story or something like that. There's all these avenues to tell a further story, and they just go with
But not with Baron Corbin. There's no story there. Honestly, I was thinking Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins.
That would have been
could have
good.
saved AJ for SummerSlam.
Right?
But then that would have been a little worrying because it was like, well, then Drew kind of has to lose, doesn't he? Because Rollins needs a defense, and AJ can lose that Money in the Bank and be fine.
And yeah, he'll
be as
fine.
popular as ever the next night, so it won't really
Right.
matter. But like Samoa Joe, is he going to feud with Braun? He's got to focus on his title.
Yeah, exactly. He's got. I'd like to see the Joe Braun. They teased that. That was really enticing.
Was Braun even on Raw?
Yeah. Didn't he do a thing?
He did a thing? I don't even know. I'm kind of seriously asking, but the fact of the matter...
It was so long ago. It's been a rough week, man.
It's been a rough week.
Yeah, I tell you.
And we're getting a blizzard on Saturday?
Oh, yeah. That's we are.
End of April?
Check your local listings.
Right, exactly. Spoiler. And then I think Joe needs a few wins under his belt.
Absolutely. They need to strengthen Joe as a character.
So like you said, focus on that title.
Right. He's got
Make
the U.S.
it a world title.
Run it. Yeah.
Make it treated just as much.
Even throw in a couple. Well, I guess that's a face thing to do the open challenges, but just make it present, make it worth something.
Yeah, you can easily spin it and just say, "I'll beat any of you bums in the back each week," and then just wipe the floor with a couple guys like Kurt Hawkins or Zack Ryder
or local talent.
Right, and just wipe the floor for a few weeks, and then boom, Braun Strowman comes out.
Did we lose the Brooklyn Baller?
I don't think we lost anyone.
I think he got. Not like lose from this earth, but he doesn't work for WWE anymore, right?
Oh, but I'm sure if he got a call, he'd be there in 5 seconds.
I just saw a picture of him, and that made me think like local talent. And then
a lot of guys
from
like
back in the day,
right? Like Teddy Long, and half these
Barry
guys aren't under
Horowitz.
contract. Bring them back.
Bring back Barry Horowitz.
And it's like, Teddy Long, like half these guys aren't under contract, and then you see him at the Hall of Fame just hanging out. They're backstage. Does it really matter, I guess?
What else are they going to do, playa?
Play a tag team match? I don't know. Tag match?
This is a tag match.
Against The Undertaker? I don't know.
Of course, everybody.
Bring them all on.
Yes. So I guess back to women's tag, though, but does Asuka and Kairi Sane seem just thrown together? Like, that's a haphazard thing to me.
I could be rude and mention the obvious reason why they're together, but we're not going to go there. Instead, I'm going to talk about what I've said from the beginning is why is Asuka being managed by Paige?
Right? What advantage is that for her?
No, Asuka clearly, could teach her anything. And I guess it goes back to the inside joke of when on NXT, Daniel Bryan was mentored by The Miz.
Right.
And it was kind of like, oh, this is clearly a shot at him, but
right.
This doesn't feel like a shot. This feels like, well, why the heck is Asuka going to listen to anything Paige says? And then, I've seen it said that, well, Paige speaks English. She can walk them kind of through everything and learn and stuff. But then,
I mean, that was kind of the Jim Cornette thing with Yokozuna back in '93. He was able to interpret.
And she could kind of lead them that way, but, they haven't exactly been speaking too much.
Yeah, does she speak Japanese?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't like the whole thing.
I really think that it would have been a much better idea to bring Kairi Sane up with Io Shirai, and that way, because she's from NXT and you got Paige, who is a former main roster talent, that seems like the obvious bridge.
Right, and I think I have like 4 points in my head that just came up. I'm not sure I'm going to remember all of them.
Yeah, bring it on.
But I know Kairi Sane was the one in the match, but like Asuka didn't even get her own music when she came out.
Right.
She was a background player. It's like, no, this is Asuka, who last month was champion and made Becky tap out and won
she
the
dominated
TLC.
at the Rumble.
She won the TLC main event in December, and now she's coming out next to Kairi Sane and Paige's little smiling grin that she does. So it's like
that clown makeup.
Right, and I hope that
Paige, yeah.
I hope this Absolution
I like Paige, don't get me wrong. I thought she was awesome, but that was,
Yeah, she's fine. I think the Absolution tease, maybe with Sonya and Mandy.
Yeah, where are they taking that now?
Maybe that's where Paige goes, because then I would be fine with it if this is all a setup and then Paige turns heel.
Right, yeah.
And then they kind of reunite, because it's like nobody's mentioned Absolution at all. So now it's being mentioned. Is this a little foreshadowing?
But and how many face teams ever have a manager, really? There's got to be foreshadowing for something.
I'm almost like, I got to assume it's to travel around and to get used to the U.S. and more English promos.
Right. It feels like Asuka is the square peg in the round hole.
No, she shouldn't be in this team at all. I don't like it at all. And I'm trying to think of my other points that popped into my head, but nothing's coming up. Oh, yeah, I just remembered it.
There it is.
You mentioned Io Shirai. I think she's feuding with Shayna next in NXT. And actually, it was never going to be Kairi and Io. It was actually going to be Kairi and Candice LeRae.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
Io was actually never an option as much as it was kind of talked about before the Sky Pirates. Candice was going to get it.
Was that because Johnny was going to be moving up?
I think it had something to do with that, but also you can just kind of tell, like Lacey Evans, they didn't really do anything with her in NXT.
Right,
and Candice has now been there, a year and a half? I don't even know. And they've done nothing with her. So it's like almost Elias, well, he's a main roster guy, not a NXT
guy. Well, speaking of Candice, I did see that they actually, and this was the first NXT team that was calling out the women's tag team champions. They said that they want a gun for that now. Yes,
I'm glad. Iconics obviously made their name in NXT, and everyone knows about the Iconics and their run there. So I hope it happens, but wouldn't Bayley and Sasha be the better team to kind of...
Of course they would have been.
Instead of Iconics laughing and joking and not having a great match.
I feel like we've been here before.
We have been here before, and it's just, I don't want to say frustrating, because, I don't get too worked up over this stuff, but Sasha and Bayley seem to like it, and whatever Sasha's doing, I'm sure she has a reason. I don't know if she's tweeted or said anything yet.
The last tweet that I saw, or Instagram or whatever, I read the dirt sheets, call them whatever you will, the insider info, quote unquote. But they showed an Instagram post that she's at some kind of hut in some tropical region. So apparently she's still on vacation.
Okay.
And living it up, because that girl has made a ton of money, and she if she has quit, she deserves. I mean, hey, we did get some great matches out of her. We got some great moments. So maybe she should just go and have some fun now.
Yeah,
clear her head a little bit. And
yeah, I think I want to say my girlfriend, take a shot. I think she said that Sasha tweeted
I
out.
can't tonight. I don't have to work.
Oh, nice. I think she said that Sasha tweeted like a heart or something. Just a heart.
Yep. I think it was a heart, and I think there was the picture of like this.
Is she still on vacation?
I would assume so.
Come on, Sasha.
Hey, she deserves a break. I mean.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But we all deserve a break. But I mean, not by walking out of your job and no joy. So maybe she got it approved, and they said, okay, it's approved, but we need you back in a month.
Yeah, take your time, but we're going to hold you to it.
There is probably some underlying thing where, they're probably, I don't want to say laughing at everyone right now, but I do think there's some kind of understanding where it's just kind of like, all right,
Yeah,
we'll come back in a month and talk.
Right. And maybe we'll just let everybody think that there's something going on. So when I come back, it's like, ooh.
But I mean, the losing the titles and the Bailey thing, clearly, that's something to build off of. And, even when Punk left, like, I think it was either he texted or Triple H texted him or something like a few months later. And Punk texts back of just, yeah, I'm always here. We can always talk.
Right.
And then nothing happens.
Then nothing happens, right.
So it's like, what was it, a 60-day suspension they gave Punk or something officially, just something like that.
Basically suspended him through the rest of his contract.
So, I mean, it's the same with Sasha, where there may be bad blood, but I mean, I'm sure after a text, like, hey, let's talk and give me a call, and then right back to where it is. I don't think it's as bitter as probably what's being reported.
Yeah, everything always gets overblown on the internet. That's just the nature of it.
That is what brings clicks. I mean, let's be honest.
Which I would like. That's my disclaimer, is that all I do is read stuff on the internet, so take it for what it is, a grain of salt. It's not Bible truth.
No. Well, let's not talk about Bible truth. We won't talk about that.
Yeah, that's a totally different podcast.
Maybe next time. A few more Jameson in this.
Well, you want some?
Yes, I do, actually. Pass over the bottle.
There we go. I mean, we got to play the game, right, if anybody else does.
Absolutely.
Yep. Like I said, it was, but, how about those lovely auto subtitles that USA has been throwing up? Do you get those?
I do not.
No? Maybe it's just my network, but...
What are they doing?
Well, they kept calling Kofi Kingston Kobe Kingston. And it just... they get words wrong all the time. And it's not a setting on my TV. I checked. It's the station.
Just turn them off.
Yeah, I would love to. I tried. I went through my television and I looked for every instance of a closed caption.
That's weird.
It's all set to off. It's the network putting up these titles.
I like of all your notes, you wrote down the subtitle.
Well, I watched the thing and I'm going to let you know how it is. I'm a straight shooter and I don't hold back.
I love it. I have seen one, though, when Rhonda used to call herself the baddest woman on the planet.
Right.
The subtitle said the fattest woman
Yep, I saw that.
So, little typo there, I think.
But yeah, it gets annoying.
Come on, USA, get with it.
Get with it, USA. Come on. Or maybe it's Charter. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
Ooh.
Charter. Taking a shot.
Yeah. So with so we got Kofi as our champion. We got Becky as the champion.
Becky is a champ.
Does it feel like to you
Seth Rollins.
And Seth Rollins
and Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder.
But
Finn Balor. Go ahead.
Okay. Does it feel like to you that moment when you you get everything you want and you're just waiting for the shoe to drop? Like there's just that, you see Kofi out there. When is he going to get screwed? When is Becky going to get screwed?
Yeah, I'm reminded of, I think it was late 2001. CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and Zack Ryder all stood out on Raw with their titles.
Right.
And then they posed and all this stuff. And then ratings tanked for their main event. So it was just and then I think Jack Swagger was the one who defeated Zack Ryder for the U.S. title.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, Bryan lost in 18 seconds. But whatever. So then the whole thing of Kofi, I'm reminded of I don't know if my mic is off or something. It sounds a little weird in my headphones, but whatever.
Oh.
So I think it's weird you mentioned that because I'm a fan of Married with Children.
Okay.
And there's something called the Bundy curse.
Right.
Al Bundy, which got their last name from King Kong Bundy. He was having a great string of good luck. Like he was hitting every green light. He always talks about fat women coming into the shoe store, but said nothing but beautiful women were coming in today. And he was saying all this stuff about, the Bundy curse. And he was just like, oh my gosh, I'm having all this good luck. And it reminds me of Kofi. And then his wife, Peggy, was just like, this is great. What are you talking about? You're having the best luck ever. Like he found a $20 bill and this was this is the greatest for the Bundys. And he kept telling her the Bundy curse, the Bundy curse.
Right.
So then he's playing poker and he's playing with a bunch of guys and stuff. And he's just racking in all the money. He's racking in everything. He's got a full house. He's hitting all the cards, everything. And Jefferson, his neighbor, who's the dealer, but actually on Al's side, and he's getting all giddy because he knows he's collecting money and they're winning and everything. And he looks down and he's got 4 aces. And then they're playing the kind of poker where, you can say how many cards you want, so 2 or 1, or if you want to hold. So then right away, Jefferson quick goes, "Oh, Al will hold," and then quickly Al goes 4, and then puts down 4 cards, and Jefferson goes, "What?" And everyone, and then the whole crowd gasps. It's kind of the crowd reaction, and then Al, he goes, "You don't understand the Bundy curse. If I keep this hand, this is going to be the greatest thing ever, but you have no idea what the other shoe is going to fall."
Right.
You don't even want to know what's going to happen. So then Jefferson angrily shoots down 4 cards and slides them over to Al. And then they go around the table because now they're playing for all their sports cars.
Okay.
Everyone has put up their cards because Al has won all their money. So now they're putting up their cars. And they have all these nice cars out front. So all the buddies are like, "I got 2 pair. I got 3 of a kind." And then Al looks at his hand and slowly shakes. And he's got a royal flush now.
Oh, no.
I think it is. Or maybe he's got 4 aces now. But whatever. And he just starts shaking, and then Jefferson starts like dancing with them and picking them up, and he's just like, "I love you." And then Al's like, "Those better be keys in your pocket." And then as he's celebrating, he goes, "Wait a minute, the Bundy curse. Nothing bad happened. I have officially beat the Bundy curse, and forever Al will be." And at that moment, cops run in with their guns drawn.
Oh.
Then he goes, "Who owns those cars out front?" They all point at Al. And then he goes, "Well, they're all registered stolen." So then Al goes, "Of course they are."
Of course they are.
Long story short, the Bundy curse. So right now, Kofi's champ, Finn Balor's champ,
right.
Becky Lynch's champ. I think I already said it. Kofi, Seth Rollins, Becky, even if you want to include Kurt Hawkins or Zack Ryder. So, it does kind of feel like, okay, who's going to kind of lose first,
right.
and then who's from there. So I'm already thinking Becky, Charlotte, Kofi, who I think we'll get to, but I think he'll beat Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins will probably retain for a while. Balor.
That could go either way.
Andrade, maybe hit or miss. So I agree with you. It is, you're just kind of waiting, like, what's next?
Right. It's like you said, the heroes do have to win. Well, they did at Mania. So now it's just a matter of, okay, now Vince is going to just destroy us all. We've believed and invested for
Rip
so
our hearts
long,
out.
and now he's just ready, because that's what he does, because that's what keeps us watching.
That's what keeps us watching.
Again.
And I don't know. Not to get ahead, but do you think Kofi will beat Kevin Owens? Do you think Rollins will beat AJ?
I think Rollins will beat AJ. I think it's going to be a fantastic match.
Yeah.
I think that Rollins will beat AJ, clean or not. Maybe they'll open up another story for him or whatnot.
Yeah.
It's a good first contender. It's kind of weird they're doing the face versus face right off the bat, but if that's what they're going to do, I hope they, knock it out of the park.
Yeah, it'll be probably the main event in like 30, 40 minutes.
I'm hoping that Kofi retains. I'd like to see Kofi retain. But I can also see them going the other way because, again, they did that with Jeff Hardy. His first title defense, lost it. I was behind him for years and watching it. In fact, when his DVD came out, I actually sat and watched every match that led up to him. All his previous title attempts, and then he fails, and then he gets up there, and then he fails, and then he has a chance, and then he fails.
Yeah, I almost wonder if because now Kofi got his moment.
Right.
Will it be like, well, Owens? Now it's time for him to get his moment again because he hasn't been Universal Champion in, over 2 years now?
Yeah, it's been a while. He's never been WWE Champion.
Never been WWE Champion. And almost kind of to make up for him not being at Mania at all, kind of getting screwed out of that title match because, Kofi technically did take his spot.
Right.
Same with Ali.
Yep.
And then does Roman Reigns win the title over Kevin Owens?
Could go at SummerSlam. You got Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens wins at Money in the Bank, retains for a little while. SummerSlam comes up, and you got the big dog coming at your door. Speaking of Kevin Owens, we were going to talk about him a little bit last week.
Okay, yes.
Little story about Kevin Owens.
All right, I'll sit back and listen.
I never met the guy, but there was this one moment. You and I used to work together in a printing factory.
Yes.
And I believe that they did their big layoff at this point, so I don't think you were employed there at this time. But we started running.
I survived, I think, the first 2 or 3 until I was there a while after it. And then I think eventually it was just get your jacket and come with us. We need to talk. I was waving him by, I know.
I seem to remember that if we were running this particular magazine when you were working there, you and I would have been a lot more excited about it. We started running Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Oh, I was definitely not there then.
Yeah.
I would have been reading that all day.
And it was on my machine.
Nice.
And so I read that thing cover to cover for about a week. and it was great. It was a monthly thing. It was really cool.
Jeez.
But this is circa 2008ish or whatever. Maybe no, actually it was 2010 because I had was going through a divorce and whatnot. So
I was gone.
I didn't have cable, so I was forced to watch Ring of Honor on 24 on the Sinclair network.
I like how you said forced.
Well, that's all I had. I could watch, if I was quick enough, I could watch Raw on YouTube before they took it down.
Okay.
Because if you got in there just in time, you could catch
Yep.
up with Raw. So sometimes I would stay up, but most of the time it was Ring of Honor on Friday nights or Saturday nights because I only had over-the-air cable.
Right.
Or tape, not even cable, antenna. And so when I started watching Ring of Honor, it was the story of Kevin Steen coming back and having this big feud with Jim Cornette. And I watched that for probably 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, whatever it was. It was a great story.
Okay.
So fast forward, we're running Pro Wrestling Illustrated. They do an interview with Kevin Owens, and they say, would you like to, what do you see for the future? And he's like, well, everybody talks about WWE, and it'd be nice to get there and make some John Cena fan cry, but I'm happy doing what I'm doing. And he did what he did, and he did the independence, and what was it? All of a sudden, fast forward a bunch of years, and he's on NXT. And I'm watching him on NXT, and I'm digging this, and I'm like, I saw this guy, and I followed this guy, and I got this strong connection to him. So there was a point where my wife and I would watch Raw together, and she was playing around on Twitter or whatever, and all this, and we were watching on a delay because at this point I had to take my daughter home. So I started like maybe a half hour late or whatever in DVR, and we're sitting there and watching it, and all of a sudden, like, my wife is scrolling through, and she goes, "Uh-oh, honey." And I'm like, what? Uh-oh. And it was, I can't remember which Raw it was, which big pay-per-view was after, but all of a sudden John Cena is issuing this challenge, and all of a sudden, da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. And I'm like, huh?
Huh?
Da-na-na-na, da-na. And I'm like, and I see K-O. And I go, honey, this is the guy. This is the guy I told you about. This guy right here, this guy. And here we are, the first feud that he has on the main roster is with John Cena.
And he beat him.
And he beat him. And then I remember watching the Breaking Ground documentary, and they were talking that he got like what was called a double pop raise. I have no idea what that was, but it sounded cool. Sounds like that's something reserved for only the special of the talent.
Yeah, it's not just a raise, but then it's the main roster raise on top.
So, I mean, that's just awesome that Kevin Owens, I went from reading about him in the independents and now look at him, a viable contender for the WWE Championship, having been a former Universal Champion.
Yeah, I think I forgot the pay-per-view he debuted after. I want to say it was Payback or Elimination, or not Elimination Chamber, Extreme Rules. But then they were 13 days away from, it was just a network special, Elimination Chamber. And then that's when they had their match, and he was still NXT champion.
Right. That's right.
And it was just, very weird, and then he won.
Yeah, he loses he wins that Elimination Chamber and then loses the NXT title and then
to Finn Balor.
Right, and then doesn't really
and then finished up at the ladder match in Brooklyn, I think.
Was that he lost in Tokyo and then lost in Brooklyn.
Right, and then that was kind of it, and that was your special weekend.
Yep, that's right. Oh yeah, wow. I remember coming home.
And Bailey and Becky, or not Bailey and Becky, I'm sorry, Bailey and Sasha had their classic in Brooklyn that night.
Yep, I remember we had a couple hours before the wedding actually started, and I went home and I actually watched as much of TakeOver as I could. What'd you do before your wedding? Watch wrestling.
NXT was on. What do you think I did?
So yeah, I mean, Kevin Owens. And to touch on that, I think that swerve was obvious. You knew he was turning. I mean, I don't know. Seeing him as a face is almost not as believable, especially the pancake throwing, pastel wearing face.
No, I mean he
that's
wasn't.
not him.
No, he was never going to be the Big O and be a member of the New Day. Obviously,
right. That was definitely not. I
would have. We mentioned this last week. I thought he was actually going to turn last week.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even think it'd last a week. So when it happened this week, is like, there it is. Because Daniel Bryan's out. They needed a heel opponent for Kofi.
Exactly, absolutely.
And if it wasn't going to be Orton, who has not been around or whatever.
He's tired.
Yeah, I mean, he's been on after the show. So it's weird. Like, do they just not want him to have him on? Is he safe for a surprise? But, they needed a heel opponent for Kofi. Because you can't do face-to-face with him right away.
Right.
Seth
you can't
Rollins
have that on both sides of the card.
No, you can't do it. He's too much of an underdog who won at Mania. So they needed a heel for him. And, like I said, I thought it'd be last week, but this week it was great. And take a shot. My girlfriend was caught off guard by it. She was shocked. So it clearly worked in that aspect that, take a shot. There you go, Jameson. it worked, and it was shocking. If you heard the crowd, like, I don't know if they bought into, what was it, Big O? Is that it? Big O,
yeah.
I don't know if they bought into it, but, they seem shocked. So clearly it worked.
I mean, yeah, it definitely worked, but that could be a credit to the great storytellers. You got Kevin Owens, Kofi Kingston, all seasoned professionals.
And quick little shout out even to Xavier Woods for the powerbomb.
Yeah, that looked like it. Oh.
And, with Big E out, is the story now going to be that Kofi's on his own? And not again, but take a shot. My girlfriend at the end of SmackDown goes, they're showing Xavier writhing in pain. She goes, is he okay?
Oh, yeah? Yeah,
so
he sold it well.
It's like, yeah, this is great. Kevin Owens. And to your point, he was, I guess, technically a face when he debuted in NXT. He had the vignettes and stuff.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
I think he beat, I can't remember his name. He was the guy who held up the signs for, like, the Better America or Better CJ Parker or something.
He's now Juice Robinson and NJ.
Right. I think it was it CJ Parker?
Yeah, CJ Parker.
Well, whatever his name was.
Dreadlocks.
Yes, he was technically a face. That might have been his last match in NXT, was it? Did he leave after that, or was he?
He did, because that's really. I'll be honest. That's exactly the exact moment that I started really paying attention to NXT and started really. There was a point where I followed it pretty much religiously, and that was when he won his debut match. Kevin Owens did.
Busted his nose,
and then comes out to congratulate Sami Zayn for winning the championship, and then power bombs him on the apron. And and I'm like, that is the Kevin Steen that I know.
And they had a big feud in ROH. That's what they were known for. And obviously they
amazing.
Feuded on and off, the past 4 or 5 years.
God, those guys were just so brutal to each other. It was amazing.
They're so good. And then just like his debut against Cena, Owens ended up beating Sami Zayn 2 months later. To the day, 2 months exactly since his debut. But to the previous point, he was a face for 2 hours?
Yeah.
So he's always been a heel, and then even this New Day, I don't know if that officially counts as a turn. I guess it.
I wouldn't.
I mean, it kind of does.
It was a work. The whole thing was a work.
Right. The whole thing was to set up the heel
so
turn.
I wouldn't say that was an actual turn. I think it was a work.
So it's like The Miz, where it's like, well, he's kind of a good face. I don't know, maybe but he's so good as a heel, so it's like, how long until they go, man, Miz,
I think Kevin Owens can be a good face. I think he can definitely, he's done it for a little while.
He came back in, what was it, February or March?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean, was that counted as a face turn? Because he was feuding with Daniel Bryan and all them, so he was a face for the past month. The New Day thing, obviously
not. Yeah, but he really
not.
didn't get a chance to showcase it because there was all that.
And I mean, even he got the stunner. That's
Right.
a move you cheer.
And that was the whole point. He's not doing that anymore.
I hope not, but
they've that's one thing that I did hear reported is that they actually did this heel turn a little faster than they wanted to, but because Daniel Bryan being injured, they needed that heel to
that scares me if Bryan, and they're not even saying why.
Well, because I think we know why. I mean,
I don't want to know why. Last time we didn't know why. He came out and announced he was retiring.
How long can you push it? You do something the same way for so long, and regardless of whether you're told you should not do this anymore, you sometimes fall back into same routines. So.
Yeah, this is kind of the whole thing with him coming back. I think people...
I was a little skeptical when he came back. I'm like,
it's been a year,
and it's like I remember seeing some of these creative humor Twitter accounts being like, maybe let's not hit the guy in the head that has a history of concussions.
Yeah, let's not have Kofi kicking him square in the face.
Right. How about we don't kick the concussion guy in the head, huh? I mean, there's other parts of the body to sell.
Yeah, and and even on Bryan, I mean, he can slow down his style.
He obviously changed his drop kicks. He's no longer landing the same way. He uses the ropes for a lot of leverage.
Yes, he has changed his stuff. But even when he came back last year, I thought, okay, he's going to be like a Brock Lesnar special attraction. He can come in, or even Undertaker. He can do a few matches a year. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I think it was within a month, he was feuding with Big Cass, which we'll try to forget.
How did that go?
Yeah. And he's feuding with Big Cass, and all of a sudden he's being added to live events one by one. It's like, wait a minute. And then after a month, he's full-time. It's like, I'm not sure this is a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously what he wanted to do, because...
Right, but I mean, Ric Flair also didn't want to retire, but he was, 100 years old. So sometimes, again, WWE was cast as the bad guy, but now you're seeing why.
But now there's that almighty dollar.
There's the almighty dollar, but I mean, I don't think I think for the company, but, Bryan, is someone who saved his money, and obviously Brie Bella.
Right.
And even, the reality show, I know Bryan wants to be known as more than the Total Divas husband. But I don't think the money is for them, but for WWE, I get it.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, it makes sense.
Let's just hope he's back and then attacks Kofi after he beats Kevin Owens or something, and then he's back.
But it was good to see Nakamura against Kofi. That was really cool to see him as doing a singles match. I know he had Rusev at his side, but I like Nakamura. I've been a big fan.
Yeah,
of his.
he's another one like Asuka. I mean, we forget they both won the Rumble last year.
And Lita Strauss, you stole my gig. I was doing Shinsuke's music before you were. Just
that is
throw
true.
That out there.
I can vouch for that.
There is a video on Twitter.
There is a video. We're going to somehow retweet it.
Nobody called me.
Nobody.
It's heartbroken. I thought maybe,
I'm going to send her that video. Make sure you send that to me. I'll tweet it out to her.
All right, we'll do that.
Somebody will see it. Maybe I'll send it to Mickey James. But I think the Nakamura thing, a few months ago, is reported that he was leaving, and I had tweeted out because I had some conflicting info, but I was told no. So I said, don't listen to the Nakamura stuff. But then, everyone went on the whole AEW, and he's leaving, and that's why he lost. Was it the U.S. title, or he had a title, and then he had recently lost it. Yeah. So everyone's like, well, this is his way out. He's lost the title. Here we go. And
now I believe he just resigned.
And I was no. The answer was no. He wasn't going anywhere.
He's gonna be a staple for a little while yet.
No, he enjoys the U.S., his family and stuff.
Right.
So
yeah, he put all that time into moving here and all that.
I mean, Hideo Itami wanted out, but not Nakamura.
Right, but they weren't doing much with Hideo. They actually looks like they got plans for Shinsuke, at least to keep him there, in the spotlight, not necessarily like giving him a title or having him pushed, but he's gonna be.
But I hope they do.
Yeah, I hope they do too. I love Shinsuke Nakamura. I think that guy is awesome. And are we calling him Shinsuke, or is that?
Did he lose a name?
I don't know. They've been calling him Nakamura for about 2 weeks.
I mean,
now.
I just call him Nakamura.
Yeah, I mean it works. But no, that guy, I've always been behind him ever since he debuted with Sami Zayn.
Yeah, and if Nakamura then gets attention, then that means someone else loses a spot on the card, because each time it goes down, does that mean then Rusev and Lana are back on their own?
I love Rusev too. I think Rusev is awesome.
I mean, there's only 2 hours on SmackDown. It was teased they make it 3 hours. Let's hope not. But I think with Fox, I think Fox. What was it? They have the Fox affiliate news at 9.
Right.
So
they were talking about. They were talking the third hour may go to FS1.
Oh gosh.
So basically
they're already getting a studio show. They don't
right. Oh, they're gonna give you so much content. You're gonna be just swimming.
Yeah, Fox Sports, probably the app. I've said it before, but I would like the takeovers to be on Fox.
That'd be cool.
Or Fox
I
Sports,
could see that.
or whatever. If a Saturday night they don't have a college football, because
right.
For them, or the World Series, and obviously NFL is Sundays, but a Saturday night like they did UFC specials, why not have the takeovers on there?
Yeah, why not? I mean,
better than airing reruns of Gotham or whatever they are.
Yeah, and they're looking for more of a sports presentation,
and it's live.
NXT has always been more of a sports presentation.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned a lot the past 2 weeks, but even now with the Latino Andrade and Selena, I'm looking forward to seeing what Fox does and how much they do. If WWE is going to be on now Tuesdays, obviously, then Friday nights, and then if they do have NXT quarterly specials, at least.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Like Saturday night's main event.
Yep. Well, I heard that the next NXT takeover is actually going to be a standalone thing. It's not going to be mixed up with another pay-per-view.
Yeah, that would work. I mean, I think we're kind of at that point where I don't want to say they should do monthly. It
might be a bit much. Again, it might be that too much.
That's why NXT works so well. It's 1 hour a week.
Yep.
It's every few months a pay-per-view.
Right.
And you don't want them to go to 2 hours. You don't want them to get 3 hours.
I could see them doing 2 hours. That might be cool.
Yeah, they do have a lot.
But then again, I don't watch. I don't watch weekly. I watch the
definitely not. And then the pay-per-views, you don't want to get them too much. Like we said, too much of a good thing is a bad thing. And NXT just hits all the right notes right now, so why fix what isn't broken?
Exactly. Well, because Vince likes to do that.
Well, if he's offered more money, what was it? I think it was a studio show, and third hour of SmackDown would be an extra $50 million or something.
Jesus.
So it's just tough. Like if
I'll
you're an
take a
owner,
little.
like we complain about, Raw 3 hours, and I admit guilt.
Right.
And it is long.
It is a marathon.
It is a marathon each week. But here's the thing: if you're owning the company and USA comes to you and says, "Here's $1 billion TV deal,"
Exactly. Or Saudi Arabia comes and says, "Here's a bunch of $1 million to fly over here and do what you would normally do anyways."
Yeah, I mean, Saudi Arabia, it's reported $40 million. I was told it's $25 million. Does it really matter? Probably not.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It's more money than you and I could dream to. Well, we could dream about it. It's more than you and I will ever accumulate.
Oh, I dream about it. Don't worry.
Oh, I do too. I mean, we're
Speaking
in a
of Saudi
basement.
Arabia, right? No, we're in the lab. What are you
We're
talking
in the lab. That's what it is.
We're in the lab.
Rinky-dink basement lab.
So I think Saudi Arabia. Are you thinking Undertaker Elias?
I mean, that's what they're leading towards. It sounds,
then,
like the thing.
Is it then Brock Rollins rematch?
I don't care.
My thing would
Screw
be
Brock Lesnar.
I only say that because he was name dropped on Raw.
I know, and
it seemed like they were moving on, but then Seth Rollins was like, "Let me guess, Brock," and then Triple H was like, "No, they're still in Vegas."
Yeah, well,
which they probably are.
They're gonna bring Brock because that's the only date left on his contract. But really, screw Brock Lesnar. I could care less. I'm sorry for any talent that has to be put in the ring with him and forced to tell a story with that talentless garbage hole.
Whoa, Seth Rollins or
no?
I'm kidding. All right. What?
The only reason why Brock Lesnar matches sell is because Paul Heyman makes him sound so great.
All right. What if it's another clean loss for Lesnar? Would that make it okay?
The fact that he's on the card, I mean, I would be happy with a clean loss. If he has to be on the card, yeah, I want him to lose. I want him to lose cleanly, and I want him to go home and cry about it.
Here would be an interesting thing. We all remember Survivor Series 2 years ago where Brock beat AJ Styles.
Yep.
How about AJ and Seth have a little disputed finish, and then Brock comes back, wants a rematch, AJ wants a rematch, and then AJ Styles finally gets the win over Brock in Saudi Arabia for another title match.
I can get behind it. Anything that sees Brock
that
on
match
the
would be
losing
good.
end. Yeah, it'd be a great match. Anything that sees Brock on the losing end, I'm for.
But what if he comes back and wins the title back?
Then I am canceling my subscription.
Whoa!
I am turning off WWE, and I will never see them again. And
never, ever?
I will never be featured on a 411 podcast. Available anywhere that you can get Apple, iTunes, Spotify. Give us 5 stars.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, it's on air now. If
I know.
I don't think it'll happen.
I'm not going to do something as silly as throw a brick at my TV or hit it with a sledgehammer.
Or a baseball bat.
Or a baseball bat, whatever the gimmick was. But seriously, I'm sick of Brock Lesnar. If I never see him again, it would still be too soon.
Yeah, I think it would be to come back and, either lose to AJ or Rollins works. And, we just talked about it. If Saudi Arabia comes at you with $25 million and says, we want Brock.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, that makes sense. And I understand it.
Right.
But he doesn't have to win. He doesn't have to stick around.
No, I don't. I think it is UFC.
I would get behind the Brock Lesnar if he just came in, suplex, and left. Didn't even compete. If that's what they had to do to keep him strong or whatever. But keep him away from the title. Keep him away.
Or even Braun. Braun can finally beat him.
Braun could finally beat him. That would be
awesome. And then that would kind of wrap that up, and Braun can kind of
run with stuff.
I've mentioned it like 2 times, but, I think a move to SmackDown would be better for Braun. He's, again, not doing anything. I mean, I guess to Samoa Joe tease, but I don't even remember if Braun was on Raw.
Hey, I got a question about Braun for you. First, I have to ask, do you mind if we, say, where we're at location-wise?
Just the area.
Okay.
So where are we? Southeast Wisconsin, or where?
Okay. Do you know what Braun's connection is with Wisconsin?
Yes. Well, first of all, Ryan Braun.
I see. I got that. He got his name from the baseball player, but he does a lot of stuff.
I think
up
his
here.
dad. Yeah, I was at the Brewer game last week, but not the one he threw out the first pitch
Really?
for. I was like, I just missed it by a day.
And then, just after New Year's, he did the Polar Plunge in Hartford, Wisconsin?
Yeah, I don't remember what it is. I would have to Google it. I'm trying not to be on my phone during this, but I'm sure everyone will yell at me and tell me on Twitter. But I think it's his dad used to be, I don't know if it's softball or some baseball, like home run champ or something.
Okay.
And I want to say that's the connection, but I'm sure everyone will tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, how awesome is that?
That is cool.
He... hometown.
And they just had, I think, a show in Madison, I think.
Yep.
And actually, I don't think I'll be able to make it, but Saturday night, NXT is in Milwaukee.
Oh, really? Really?
It is.
Jeez, where am I?
The ballroom, Turner Ballroom.
Is that tomorrow?
Yes, it is.
Are they going to get snowed out?
I don't know if this blizzard's coming
I
in
heard
late
Milwaukee's expecting like 4 to 8.
I have seen, somebody already on Twitter had sent to the NXT guys, kind of stay warm.
Bring your coats.
Bring your coats.
Remember, you need to buy your coat from here for here. Thank you, Cat Williams.
That is true. And, I don't know if my work schedule is going to line up with it. And then I looked at tickets, like maybe if I could duck out of work early or something, which would be fine usually. I think it was one site said it was sold out.
Oh.
And it's a Turner Ballroom, so
smaller capacity.
500, maybe 1,000. I don't know how much it fills, but
Turner Ballroom, really.
But that's NXT. That's what they run. Okay. So that's the buildings they usually run. And
I thought they would have done like the Rave or.
Oh yeah, that would have been I haven't been to the Rave in a while.
Me neither.
Well,
getting old.
NXT. All right, so then Turner Ballroom. I saw one that said sold out, so I looked on StubHub.
Okay.
And I think it was like $90 just for like the top standing balcony.
Oh wow!
And I was just like, I've never been to an NXT show, and I really want to go to one.
Right?
Because everyone says they're awesome, but I'm not paying that.
But yeah, I mean, it's still kind of
plus the drive,
indie,
plus the blizzard, plus parking,
the blizzard.
plus the hassle,
food.
I mean, I do work Sunday morning. Not that it would really matter, but
got to eat at Mater's.
Then Mater's.
Shameless plug.
Yep, Mater's. Go to Mater's. It's awesome.
It's a fantastic restaurant.
Yes, and then also, then waking up, you'll be tired, so it's all that worth it to pay $90 plus 20 parking.
I mean, that's
But I just said it the other day to my girlfriend. Take a shot. That I just no more shots.
No.
Well, that Jameson look. No, I was telling her, I really want to go to an NXT show. And I'm unfortunately, I'm probably going to miss out again. So it's like, when are they coming back again? Another year?
Oh, is that how long it was since the last one?
I don't even remember.
Because WWE comes around twice, 3 times a year.
Yeah, well, they just came in March for a live
we get
event.
one right before WrestleMania, and then we get one in the fall, I think, or summer.
I think I saw because they. There was this one thing about like a court document showed their whole entire year schedule.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I want to say it's like December.
That makes sense.
It's a Friday night, so I'm guessing, and then it's for SmackDown.
And then they come back before WrestleMania.
So by December, SmackDown will be live Friday nights. So I'm guessing it'll be a SmackDown live, on Fox.
Oh yeah, right. Ooh.
Yeah, so they'll be live on Fox by then. But again, that's in December. That could change by now. But
let's see if they're floundering or if they're doing well.
Right. See if they brought in the Rocket.
How quickly can we cancel a contract?
How can we get that $1 billion back?
Right.
Let's call up Saudi Arabia. So I'm going to miss NXT again, so I'm kind of disappointed in that. And they did come to last month for a live event, and they usually announce the return date. And they did not announce anything.
Oh, wow.
So that kind of,
Maybe they hate us.
I don't know what the moral of the story is. I'm kind of rambling.
I want to lobby for a WrestleMania in Milwaukee.
Yes.
Because Miller Park could hold the fans.
Could.
It has a dome, so the weather would not be an issue.
It has a roof. Retractable in case.
It might be right around opening day, but I'm sure that schedules could be worked out. If anybody from the big wigs are listening, Milwaukee would be fantastic.
Even Green Bay Lambeau Field is more historic, I would say.
Yeah, well,
it'd be colder.
But the problem with Lambeau Field is that they don't have a roof, so snow is very possible early April. Here it is late April, and
they were just in New York, New Jersey.
Yeah, but
yeah, I know it's Wisconsin. It's like and I think the reason they don't have a Super Bowl at legendary Lambeau Field because you'd figure, well, by now they have to have a Super Bowl.
Have to. Well, they did that in the '60s.
Well, right. The excuse given was they don't have the hotel rooms.
Right.
Because 100,000 people congregating in the same town.
I think Milwaukee has capacity and surrounding areas.
I mean, Mania is big.
Milwaukee but so is the Harley Fest. I mean, when they had the 100th, we were able to accommodate that. I remember I worked it. It was insane. I worked at hotels during the Harley Fest.
Oh, man.
During the 95th and the 100th.
Oh, my gosh. How busy was it?
Insane. Do you know how many bikes were in the parking lots?
I do not.
I used to find my way up to the roof in some of these hotels and just looking down at, sometimes there would be car conventions, but in this particular case, there was actually one moment the assistant general manager and I went up to the roof and we watched just probably 75 bikes go in 2 lines, leaving the Alliant Energy Center parking lot and heading to Milwaukee, an hour and a half away, just, because that's what you do, because there were no other hotels.
That's nuts.
But, it's a big thing, but I think they could accommodate it. For WrestleMania, would you drive an hour and a half if your hotel was over there?
Well, right. And then also, I mean, you got to consider then the reward for that risk is the $100 million it brings to the economy.
Exactly. That's
and the hotel,
why. And
restaurants.
it would be awesome to show that Milwaukee has. I mean, beer and cheese are great. Don't get me wrong, but there's more. I mean,
we're more than that.
Yeah, we got a lot of great community stuff. There's a lot of other sports teams that are. Technically, we have some of the top players in American sports right now.
We do. I mean, you could mention the Brewers. You could mention Aaron Rodgers. You could even mention the Milwaukee Bucks, who do have the best record in the NBA.
Wow. First time that I can remember that they actually advanced in the
new
playoffs.
arena is awesome. I've been there a bunch. And
then don't forget competitive eating with Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, too soon?
Too soon, maybe. And the Bucks, who may actually win a title, their arena is a little too small. It's 15,000, 20,000.
Right.
The new arena is awesome, so they could do the Hall of Fame there. They could do the convention there, the access, and hopefully no mentions of Jeffrey Dahmer. But, they do have the top sports teams.
He's long gone.
And yes, I mean, we are a little more than beer and cheese, even though we love beer and cheese.
We do love beer and cheese, and, you're welcome.
Maybe I'll contact someone about Mania coming whenever they decide to leave Florida.
Pull your strings.
Right.
Do your powers, cast your spells, whatever it is.
Whatever.
Speaking of Milwaukee, so who under a mask is rumored to have made a quick little, oh my, we got CM Punk. What's the drinking game for when you drop your phone?
The drinking game is there is no drinking game.
Okay, well we should start one.
All right, so you want to go ahead?
So what? CM Punk made some return at some indie promotion not too far from Rufus Sport.
I don't know. What do you think? Was it him?
Well, from what I heard, he was seen in the same clothes that he wore in the ring, but in the ring he wore a mask. But he was seen waiting outside before the show. He was seen getting into a car after the show and had all the same attire on and stuff. And from what I've heard, this isn't the first time. He's actually made a couple of appearances all under mask, but they've just flown under the radar. This one, I think maybe he just got a little too comfortable or just didn't care anymore. Let his guard down, and then it was that lovely social media world that we live in.
Oh yeah, we love it.
Yep, they've found him. But I mean, you know what? I think it's awesome. Good for him. I'm a big Punk fan. I've always have been. I'm even wearing his sweatshirt right now. I love the work.
You do. That's nice.
I love the work that he
color.
put in. I really love the matches. I think his title run, that long extended title run that he had, was awesome. I was behind him the whole way. And I get why he left. It whatever it was maybe I don't agree with how he left, but he had to do what he had to do. So if, obviously he still enjoys the performance of it or the technical part of it, get in, do a couple of moves. And, obviously he still enjoys that. And if that still drives him as a passion, then it's awesome that he makes a couple of spots. I hope he enjoyed it, and I hope he had fun, and I hope nobody got hurt.
Yeah,
keep doing it, man.
Yeah, and if he's having fun, then that's what matters.
Exactly.
And he's even said in a past interview that if he ever did return, it would. I think he said he'd be in a ninja suit and do it at a crowd in front of 50 people that nobody would know about.
Exactly, and I think that's awesome. He's even sticking to what he said he would do, and I don't think he needs the big box office. He doesn't need the payday anymore. I don't think that drives him because there's too many strings attached. I think he likes saying, okay, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to throw this move on this dude, and everybody's going to clap, and they're going to know it's me, but they're not going to know it's me, and then you get this big spotlight on your little indie promo.
Isn't he the whole speculation now, and is AEW, was this kind of a little hint or a little laying the groundwork for, hey, Punk might be back. Hey, he hasn't fought in UFC forever.
I don't know if he'll come back.
TV?
It's hard to picture him to come back on a full-time wrestling
If Punk
schedule.
comes out at Double or Nothing and interrupts, whoever, Cody,
Dean Ambrose,
Dean Ambrose, and then that same week, which I think it's 2 weeks away, which they are going to announce, their TV deal.
Right.
Them and Punk Punk Speaks, could be the Punk's Pipe Bomb debut TNT Tuesday night or Wednesday night.
Yeah, give him like that kind of role.
You're not telling me people aren't going to watch that?
That's true. And, if they are going to be as free with the creative process as they say they're going to be, that might be right up his alley. I mean,
right.
That was the whole reason why he got into it in the first place. When he did the whole Straight Edge Society, walked in and just, handed Vince McMahon, he said, this is what I'm doing. And he wrote all of what he was going to be doing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's got the talent to be creative and tell his own stories. He just wasn't given that freedom anymore.
Yeah, and then, I mean, even below that, you could have, Dean Ambrose versus Kenny Omega. Even though I don't buy into the Dean to AEW. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he is actually going to, just
take a break.
Take a break, and if he comes back at the Rumble or something. But, I could be totally wrong, and then he shows up as the big shock on their debut at Double or Nothing, or even in the fall for the TV deal. But back to Punk, I mean, I don't know. I think it was him. I'm just gonna say.
I definitely think it was him. I'm almost certain. Like, I think it was more or less confirmed by what I read.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of tiptoeing around, and I think it's him. I did see like a close-up picture, and I mean it looks like him. And everyone's saying, well, he ran out awkwardly and looked weird. Well, obviously he's gonna do that.
Right. If you're trying to keep a low profile, of course you're going to run awkwardly.
Yeah, and the GTS hitting, let's be honest, he didn't always hit them anyways. So I don't think it's ring rust. Or I think Mysterio, he busted his nose too.
Oh, man.
Or Regal, I think he did.
Yeah, definitely Regal. I remember watching the Snitsky one shortly after. That was his first title defense when he won the
Snitsky.
World Heavyweight title.
All right.
Stands up and blood's just pouring down. Oh, man.
Yeah, welcome, Snitsky.
Might as well fix your teeth while you're at it.
Oh, wow. Nice shot. I think it is Punk, and I guess if we're gonna just get right to it, my bold predictions. 2019. So 4 months ago, the column was posted.
Yeah.
Number 1 was CM Punk returns.
Yeah.
So you can ding on that one.
Are you dinging this one? Okay, you
I'm
consider it, even though he
with
returned under a mask.
Same with women will main event. Everyone kept saying, well, will they get the spot? No, they were getting the spot. That was always going to happen. And then same with Becky beating Ronda. People thought, well, Charlotte's included. She'll take the fall. No.
There was, that was rumored around, but yeah. No, Becky
Ronda's she knows old school.
Yeah.
She's, I don't want to say the opposite of Brock, but she understood she was leaving. And, you take the loss, and obviously unfortunate little mishap there, but,
pinky breaking.
As you were talking, I did quick Google. All I typed in was CM Punk and Watry on Google.
Oh, no. Uh-oh.
Yeah, you don't want to. Well, anyways, you don't want to know what came up. But this part I quick read. This was from a column of mine. Back in 2016, I had a quote-unquote source that trained with Rufus Sport at, same as Punk.
Right.
And basically what was told was CM Punk is 100% serious about this. It's not a publicity stunt. This is talking about his UFC training.
Okay, right.
He's invested all the way, worked super hard at the gym. There's no BS at all from him, like if he's a celebrity waltzing in.
Yeah, he didn't. He wanted to be worked as hard as everybody
else. It
else.
wasn't like that at all. He cleaned up the mats afterwards.
He was, from what I read, he was very humble.
Yes, that's the word. Super cool and all this, but, I say right here, the downside is the stories about him losing a majority of his quote-unquote simulation fights are true.
Yep.
And basically anyone, coach and even friends and training partners, did pretty much have their way with him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And for people saying right now that I'm just full of BS and just yammering, a few months later during their UFC countdown, because then they air before the pay-per-views, like little YouTube clips.
Okay.
All this stuff was in there.
Yeah,
so
right.
When I wrote about it, and then months later, UFC had everything that I had said. So I don't want to say this is the end of his UFC career, but there was another story he had done. Was it a jiu-jitsu tournament?
Was that it?
I don't know what it was. It was a few weeks ago. He did it under his real name to, again, stay under, because I think after his UFC fights, I think he kind of was not wanting the attention, but he still wants to do it.
Right.
Which he probably should have done in the first place instead of taking the 6-figure paydays and getting demolished on pay-per-view.
It's a 6-figure payday. Who's going to turn that down?
Right, but Punk, who says he doesn't do things for the money and says he's not about that life,
Yeah, and everybody says that until they're offered a 6-figure payday.
Right.
And like I said, Punk is awesome, and I think that he was kind of thrown into the fire. Bright lights of UFC right off the bat, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a rough.
I mean, he's friends with Dana White, and let's be honest, it's because he was friends.
Right,
and
absolutely. And he had a drawing power. He was fresh out of WWE, and it's his first return to some type of
He just had the podcast, which made big news, obviously.
Huge.
That was huge. And then he's friends with Dana White, so he got on the main card. He wasn't even preliminaries or anything, and he got paid more than his opponents who beat him.
Yeah, I read that. I read what he got paid.
And it's just funny that, afterwards Dana White said, well, maybe he shouldn't have been in the UFC. Well,
yeah.
You think so?
You think? I mean...
So I wrote about this, but, Punk, again, he ripped the politics backstage WWE.
Right.
And then guess who used his nice politics?
Exactly.
Prime spot in UFC, Mr. I'm against part-timers.
Right.
Well, guess what?
But to his credit, he did train. He did put the work in. He did give it a legitimate shot. It was a much different world than what he was expecting. At least his second fight, he didn't lose in the first round.
Yeah, and I like how in the jiu-jitsu tournament last week he said, well, he got third place. Well, there was only 3 people in it.
Oh, well, okay then.
I like that little spin on that. But, yeah, everything...
you're always, what is it? You're always first when there's no one behind you or something like that.
Right, you're always leading. But, yeah, I just... that's why I read that part, because as much as it comes off as I'm negative stuff, everything was... He gave it 100%.
Right.
He was, and I will say right now, I would never step in.
Absolutely not.
So... all the credit in the world to him. I would never do it. So people saying, well, you wouldn't go fight. No,
You're darn right I wouldn't.
You're darn
I don't have the insurance for that. Well, 6 figures?
Well,
I'd think about it, yeah.
But that's why
I'll get knocked out for $250. Sure.
I'll get punched out for $1. No, I'm just kidding. So
I got $1.
Oh, hold on. So that's why I always that's why I said that part, because I give him all the credit in the world. Super humble. He didn't just waltz in like a celebrity.
Right. Still didn't come to my wedding, but oh well.
Still didn't come. Maybe I'll try to get an answer. So I don't know.
Maybe we could do an interview here.
Oh boy, not with me. But then do you think WWE, or is that officially a never say never still?
If he does come back, it's going to be one of those like shockers and nothing's going to come of it. Like maybe a quick few years down the road, legendary, he can still go type thing, like Royal Rumble, gets eliminated, and then we don't see him.
Saudi Arabia money?
Like I said, anything for $1, man.
Yeah, and I've tweeted this a few times the past few years. I like I said, bold prediction. I said this is the year he returns, but I did not see WWE.
Right.
So the quote I've been saying the past few years is, again, you can say I'm making it up or BS or whatever, but the quote I've always got is, if he ever returns to WWE, he will consider himself a failure at life.
Ooh.
And that's about as strong as you can get.
He is a man of strong convictions.
Yes, he is. And to say that, not like your gravestone, but to say he would consider himself a failure at life, like that would define him if he ever came back. A failure at life. That's strong.
That's strong indeed. And
Bret Hart, Ultimate Warrior, Bruno, they all come back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still say no, but they all come back.
It wouldn't shock me if he came back, and it wouldn't shock me if he didn't. He's one of those guys where he's going to do whatever, and neither one is really going to be like, oh my gosh. It's like, they're probably paying him, or makes sense, 50 people, nobody's really going to freak out, and it's going to, turn some eyes on an otherwise unknown promotion. He did that promotion a huge thing, because now, for a minute, everybody was talking about that.
Anniversary show where they were tearing down the building that he got his start in.
Yeah.
So it was this little giving back thing.
But now everybody knows about that promotion.
I saw that he was going to unmask, but then didn't.
Yeah. So I heard that too, yeah.
That would have got a reaction.
Right?
If it was him.
But, it was him. It was him. Come on now. We're talking serious. No kayfabe. Kayfabe's dead.
Okay. I'm being fair, though. But I still say no to WWE. Maybe I'm just an idiot.
I don't see it really foreseeably happening. I think if it is one of those things, it'll be like, yeah, they're paying him. And again, it wouldn't shock me, just because WWE is to a lot of people the be all end all, and a lot of people want to go out under the biggest lights. So
if you promised a Mania main event against, say, Seth Rollins or something, AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan,
it'd have to be soon though, because how long can
come
you keep
back
going?
At the Rumble, win?
How long
and then retire on top?
Right, but how long can he keep going until, he's basically what he's raged against, the part-timers,
right. I think he already got that in UFC, but that's just my opinion. I think that's why I wrote that this would be the year, because the UFC thing's officially done.
Right.
A few years ago, he was still doing it.
He's going to do some commentating, I heard.
Yeah, I mean, he's
doing
that.
Probably not.
I mean, not to continue to bash on him, but I saw
was he,
that
welterweight?
his I don't even know.
He was 185.
His comic book he did apparently did not sell very well.
Oh, really?
So I don't think he's done one since. And he used to rip on and make fun of I forgot what he called it, like cheap reality show guests or hosts, and then he was hosting reality shows. So that's why I predicted this would be the year. Like, I think is he 39? I don't even know how old
I don't know how old he is.
I could quick Google it, but I really don't care that much.
I think we're very close to the same age.
Right. So regardless, I mean, this was kind of the year where it's like, is he going to wait till he's 45, 50?
Right.
No, this was kind of the year. If he's going to do anything at all, it'd
have to be soon.
Like, what's his options? Sit at home with AJ Lee? Well,
I mean, that's an option.
That's a good option. That's a good option. But I mean, you can only go and train for a non-existent fight for so long.
Right. Unless that has become your lifestyle and that's what works for you.
Yeah, if that's what works for him.
But I mean, everybody's got their own thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
I sit down here and play guitar when you're not around.
Right, exactly. I wish I could learn to play the guitar. And I think
got 4 of them here.
I think it's
5. There's one behind you.
I just think that I think he wants a little bit more. He may not like the spotlight and all that, but he seems to enjoy it.
But he does seem to enjoy the performance of it. Yeah.
So I don't know. Any closing thoughts on Punk?
Nope. I hope he's happy. I hope to see him. I hope to see more of him in some capacity, because he is a good personality, and I like his take on things.
Cult of personality.
Oh.
Now, if that hit on Double or Nothing, see, I don't want to say AEW. It's kind of the popular cliche thing to say, like, oh,
because
Tony
it's
Khan.
new and shiny.
Yeah, and I mean, if he's looking for money, I don't think he is, but Tony Khan, they're clearly going to pay
right
to do 4 or 5 matches a year.
I mean, it might be worth it for him.
Not the schedule.
And if he's got the overall say of what he's doing and how his story is being told.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
a show
alluring.
in Vegas, and then they go to Chicago again.
That's tempting. Why not?
It's tempting, and I think if anything, it would be AEW, because that just kind of fits them way more in WWE at least.
It'll be interesting to see how the shiny new toy turns out. Like you said, you can have a great first week, first month, first year, but when you're done with the firsts, how do you sustain?
By the way, speaking of AEW, wasn't it was it before Fastlane when we were out to eat, and then you were like, and I was like, oh, I don't think they've announced the location yet. And then I think I told you it was Chicago.
Oh, for All In?
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah, I think you told me that was going to be Chicago.
And then like a week or two later, they announced
it. Yeah. I thought that was awesome. I actually, there's a friend of my wife who I talk with on Twitter every now and then. He was at All In.
Was it awesome?
Yeah, he said it was amazing.
Everyone said it's
just
amazing.
Just the vibe in the place. He also went to WrestleMania that year as well.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he went to New Orleans and did that thing. And
everyone says it was so awesome, and then that's what, kind of brought on AEW. Like, if that show was a bust, then...
Right. It's almost like WrestleMania 1. Like, if it didn't happen, that, and I think that's what started AEW, was that Tony Khan was like, these guys can do it. All I got to do is put up the cash.
Put up the cash, talk to a few of my network friends.
This could be a serious, viable commodity. And if they run it right, like All In was run very well, other than the fact that... one match ran super long, so the main event was like 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And if you go back and watch that match, which I have it still on my DVR, you can actually hear the ref being, "Dude, we got 2 minutes. Dude, we got to go home. We have 30 seconds. Dude, we got to go home now." Really? He's just freaking out. We got to go home. We got to go home. We got to finish. And then they're all in the ring, and you hear the announcer, "Quick, fade out," and then the pay-per-view ends. And I heard there was a big speech about the second All In, or what they were going to do, and that never got aired because they ran out of time. I think it was the Marty Scurll.
I think the ECW first ever pay-per-view also was running low on time. Yeah. With Terry Funk winning.
It's always funny when they got to scramble. We gotta go. They were just yelling at each other.
And we talked about that last week. That's there's just going to be some growing pains.
Absolutely, yeah.
Whether it's paying to be on the network or the network paying them, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but they're going to sink money into it at first.
Absolutely. And if they get a streaming service, I will subscribe to that.
Streaming service.
That would be so much easier for me to pay attention to instead, because I'm not going to shell out $60 a pop for pay-per-views anymore.
No, I don't think they're going to.
The network kind of spoiled, the WWE network kind of spoiled me on that, so like if AEW gets some type of streaming service, they've got a customer in me.
And Turner, if anything, it'd be the Bleacher Report app. They're starting to get into it's called BR Live. They're starting to get into more stuff.
There's all of that, like with ESPN Plus and UFC, that whole kind of everybody
Turner,
benefiting everybody. It must be cheaper to have somebody else use somebody else's platform.
Yeah, and I mean Impact and ROH run pay-per-view still at $40.
Right.
And it's like, well, yeah, you can sign up for their service and get the discount stuff, but I mean, WWE kind of set the market now.
Yeah. Who wants to pay? What is it, 40 times 12 or 60 times 12 for the big ones or whatever it is? I mean, when you can get it for $120 a year.
Plus their archives, plus Raw and SmackDown after a month, plus all the original shows.
When the network came out, I started watching pay-per-views from WrestleMania 7 when I first started watching all the way up until current. And I got up to, I think, 2006.
Oh, wow.
And I think I just had to stop.
Oh, 2006. That's when they had the single brand.
Yeah.
And there was some not so good ones where I think they ended it then a year or two later.
But I just caught myself like every waking moment okay, where am I at now? And I'd have to go on to Wikipedia to find out what the order was of everything. And I was just like, okay, this is insane. There's
and even,
way too much content.
There's way too much. And I mean, I haven't even mentioned
But that's
NXT.
not a bad thing.
No, and NXT makes it worthwhile.
Absolutely. And there's just a plethora of
WrestleMania. New subscribers, it's free.
And $10. I mean,
new subscribers. Like, could you ever imagine WrestleMania free? And for new subscribers,
back in the day,
that's nuts.
I mean, that was the whole reason why I didn't get the pay-per-views as a kid. Because,
so that's why I think All Elite. I mean, I assume they already know this, but I don't think they should be charging $40 a pay-per-view.
No, I think they're gonna jump on, like you said. If Turner's already got something going, they're just gonna jump on that. Just like ESPN's got something going, so UFC is like, hey, there's sports. We're sports. Let's jump on the sports. Sports. Sports.
It works for me. And I said this right away. I think All Elite Wrestling, I'm on board with them.
Yeah.
So as much as I'm not the independent guy, I'm behind them.
But are they really independent? I mean, does anybody that throws $100 million at something right off the bat, is that really independent?
That's true. You bring that. That's a good point to bring up. Is like, at what point do they not become underground or not become the underdogs or not become Rage Against the Machine?
Right. I would even argue to say that Ring of Honor is independent, but Impact is not. Because for a long time, they were the most visible, quote-unquote, competition.
Yeah, that's long gone, though.
So,
they're
obviously,
airing on Twitch to 8,000 viewers on Friday nights at midnight.
Yeah, it's sad.
When they were getting 2 million viewers on Spike.
But they just refuse to quit.
No, they're every year people predict their death, and I never do.
Yeah, I've
they're the
just
cockroach.
been sitting there. Yeah, right. I've just been sitting there watching it, waiting for them to raise a flag, and then they hire Billy Corgan, and it's like, that was out of nowhere, but I'll go with it. And
sunk a few million in. And
right, and then they were like, you're not cool. And they was like, well, I'll go buy the NWA then.
Yeah, he thought he was buying stakes in the company and found out he was just basically funding
them for a while. But, I mean, at least somebody got paid.
Well, hey, we all like being paid.
Especially wrestlers that put their bodies on the line. They probably kind of deserve to get paid, don't you think?
I think so. But speaking of being paid, let me remind you that you are listening to the 411 Foresight Wrestling Podcast on the 411 Podcasting Network. You know where to look. Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Apple, all that good stuff. Subscribe, rate, review, 5 stars. Give us those 5 stars. Come on, people. 5 stars. And Mr. Steve, do you have anything to quick talk about?
Well, as I mentioned many, many a times before, I am part of a music project called The Resonant Complex. Our debut album, North Avenue, is available on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere that music is sold or streamed. You can listen to it and enjoy it and keep streaming it because I catch it all the time. And thank you to all of you who have. I keep seeing you every month, and it's wonderful to see that so many people are actually listening to the music. So thank you for that, and that'll do it, I suppose.
That'll do it. So we're going to close it here with the Resident Complex. 3, 2, 1, hit it!
I don't need to be first. I don't need to leave the